Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to do a video which is moving into looking at some of our resist backgrounds, and this is quite an interesting and fun one to do. Today we're going to be looking at using wax as a resist technique, so that you obviously apply the wax to your material, whether that be card, tissue paper or whatever, and then you apply your resist background. I won't be actually doing the backgrounds as such today. I just wanted to do a quick demo of how I go about using the wax and what I actually use to do this process altogether. So I'm just going to move this into shot. This is what I tend to use if I'm using wax. This is just like a little wax burner, which traditionally I think people use for doing how do we call them, seals, wax seals. I'll just grab an example one for you. This kind of thing, this kind of stamp, excuse me. So you would normally pour the wax onto the back of your envelope and stamp into it to actually make an impression to seal the envelope. And you can get all these lovely coloured waxes and stuff which you can use in the burner. Today I'm just using a little bit of actual wax from the tea light itself, because I wanted to just use the very clear effect, have a very clear effect, and then I'll put my background behind it. So you can see that I'm sort of heating up the wax a little bit here, and we've now got it to a point where it's nice and clear actually. And I find that if you use these types of waxes, they are, I think, designed for the stamps, and therefore they're a little bit more solid, I would say. They're a little bit more, they don't go as runny as if we're just using candle wax itself. You can also get these sticks as well, which you can melt, light the wick there, and it will drip and melt and produce some wax that you can stamp into. So I'm just taking this and I'm literally going to be dropping it. There's different patterns that you can do. This one I'm not paying a lot of attention. I'm actually working directly on the wood here. Probably should have worked onto a tile. Use a tile or your sort of glass mat if you've got one. Let's protect it a little bit more. So you can see I've just tipped that on there. Not particularly exciting at this point. And then I will just let that dry. I wanted actually to create a little more definite dots, but it doesn't matter. I'll find a use for this, and I'll show you that again in a minute once it's dried. Just put that over there for now. The other one I wanted to show you, I'll just tip that off there, and then we'll get going with melting some more. And these are the little flowers. I've chosen the white ones there. Just melt that down. In the meantime, I'll show you a few of the backgrounds. Okay, so what have we got? Now this was one done with the wax, where I've scraped the wax off. It's actually a very, very subtle effect. You might be able to see that just there. So you're just getting the wax that creates a resist. In the background, I've got a distressed oxide spray. This one, the same sort of thing, but I didn't scrape off the wax, and you get a much more definite sort of pattern there with the wax. And I actually prefer this effect, to be honest, just leaving the wax on there. You can feel it. And I've actually put a little bit of silver wax on top of it as well, just rubbed it on, so this is like a gilding wax. So that's those. These ones are lovely actually, and here I'll show you how I've done that on a bit of tissue in a minute, but it's just moving your hand very rapidly, so as you're pouring. And with these I was using the stamping wax, so it's a little bit thicker. You don't have as much open time, I would say. You need to get going, and sometimes these will lift off the page, but actually this one I added a bit of glitter to. You can perhaps see getting glittery effect. I think this will look lovely as a birthday card background. Again, this one we used the white, and actually both of these were done with watercolor paints in the background. Don't think we've got any shimmer there. I either use the water paint, so I use Twinkling H2Os. There's another one there. I think that one might have used, no, that's still watercolor. On black, these ones were done on black card, and obviously you're not going to be able to use the watercolor paints and what have you successfully with those. So what I've done in the background there is I've used the interference colors of the Twinkling H2 Perfect Pearls. What am I talking about? Perfect Pearls here in the background, and you can perhaps see it. It's actually quite a nice sort of galaxy effect almost. I have no idea where I'm going to use these. These are probably going to turn up on congratulations cards or something like that, or perhaps for a card for a younger person. But they've gone in the stash. They'll go in the stash. This other one here was just where I just I think tea dye in the background, tea dye distress oxide, and then I'd used a sort of brownie gold wax on top after I stamped it. Obviously stamped the background to get that effect, and you can add the wax to the background if you wish. It's not strictly a resist technique in that sense, but you get the idea. And then we had this one, which is quite a subtle background, where I just basically applied the wax all over and then scratched. Once it dried a bit, I scratched into it with a sharp tool to give me these sort of almost like engraved effect there. What else? This one, which was another just splotchy one with the normal wax, which I quite like. And then we've got some tissue paper ones, which are interesting. Just put it straight onto tissue paper. And of course, these, if you're applying them in a collage, the tissue paper will kind of disappear once you use your matte glue, leaving you with just this effect. And this was just a demo, really. I don't think I probably like these colours terribly much, but it's quite tactile. It's quite nice. These ones will get used. This one I've used the silver on the tissue. And this one, I think this is going to have quite a nice effect. Maybe not used as a whole piece, but maybe torn up and used as individual little pieces on the page that I'm working on. So hopefully that's given you some ideas. Come back to the one before, and that's kind of dried. It's a little bit dirty because this would have been reheated wax, and also there was some residual wax in the container as well. So, but it will look better once we've done the background, and perhaps I'll do a separate video on that one. So now I just wanted to do, I'm going to grab a tile this time because I don't really like working directly on the wood. Just to show I'm just watching this to make sure I've got this little spoon here. Now you can see, actually, you can see this is not as runny. It's much thicker. And this one I'm just going to try, so we've done the dots last time, I'm going to try and do this. Effect here. We're just kind of moving our hand about fairly quickly. Unfortunately, I've got a little bit of soot in there as well, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not too worried. But that, again, will be quite a nice effect once it's dry. You can apply that over the top of something else, much like you do with the normal texture paste on tissue paper. You'll get the same sort of thing going on. It can crack off, and let me just show you this. With some of the other ones I was making, the pieces can come off because they're quite fine when you're doing it like this, but you know, it doesn't matter, just glue it back down. It's fine. I added some beads to these ones. Didn't really work very well. Glitter's fine though. And also you can just drop them. You can make drops onto tissue paper like I've done before with these ones, like this. But actually I'd drop these onto foil and then I could peel them off, and you've got these sort of quite cute little embellishments, I suppose. You could scratch into those, you could colour them, perhaps maybe with some alternative coloured wax. It's sort of a take on this, which is where you've used the actual stamp. I quite like those. So yes, anyway, so that's it for today. Just showing you some of the things that I've been playing with this little tool, but obviously you don't need this. You can just use the wax itself. Be careful though, be very, very careful when you're heating things up. You can burn yourself quite severely with this. Yeah, come back. We're gonna have a look at some more resist techniques. Probably look at well, there's just so many ideas I want to go through, things that I have tried before. I'm actually really keen on this one. I'm really thinking this would look nice as a card. So I'll post up some pictures as well at some point of things that I've made with these. Okay, thanks for joining me, and speak again soon.